Hey everybody, Jennifer here, and today I thought I would bring you a brief video giving you my review of the Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams. I finished this up last week. According to Goodreads, it took me about 8 days to read, but more importantly, I met my goal of having it read by this weekend so my parents could take the book back to my science teacher so he could continue on the series as well. So that's why it's just the cover today versus the whole book. So let's get into it. The Witchwood Crown, it does take place about 30 years after Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, the original trilogy to this series. And so this next trilogy is called The Last King of Osten Ard. And you'll have to forgive my pronunciation on all these names because this is the whole reason why Jennifer wants fantasy books made into movies, is so she can learn how to pronounce everybody's names. Really, there's about, I would say, 3-4-ish main storylines, and that's with Simon and Miriamel from the original series. I would say their grandson / granddaughter, Morgan and Lilia, and then one of the Norns, she's actually a half immortal, Nezaru, and then also a storyline with her mother, who is pretty much, she's a breeding slave for the Norns, and her name is, I'm going to say Troja, was how I pronounced it. Guys, I know it's wrong. Tad, I'm sorry, it's wrong. I know it. I'm sorry. Pronunciation guys, even in the back, don't help me. They don't. But those are, I would say, what would be the main storylines that I feel are going to continue on in the series as well. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars. I know it's no surprise with that. It really, what was very nice is I did not go back and read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I did read a blurb where Tad had written these so that you wouldn't have to go back and read or have read them at all. And really, he worked you into it. You start to remember everything, because when I read the original series, that was probably about 18, I would say 18, almost 19 years ago. And guys, I wasn't lost. You won't be lost if you don't go back and reread your books. I would say there's probably going to be some borderline if you have not read the books. There's going to be a few, you're going to miss out on some emotion, some happiness. So, for example, I had really nice happy tears when Simon and Benedict were reunited at the beginning of the book. And your favorite characters from the series are going to come back. And you're going to miss out on that if you haven't read the original series. So there's going to be that part of it that you miss. There's a little backstory for some of those original problems that they solve, some of those bad guys, some of the good guys, and the key players. But for the most part, Tad brings you in a nice way, that it's not this big, huge history or these chapters. It's worked in wonderfully with the new story. It is a new story. It's continuing on. So I enjoyed it. Those were the lines. Again, I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. And as I mentioned in my last video, I ate a lot of summer sausage and cheese while reading this book, which seems to be a habit for me. So, hey, if you haven't tried it, maybe try it, because it seems like every meal is meat, cheese, and bread. And for me, that equates summer sausage, chips and ranch dip, and sharp cheddar cheese. That seems to be my diet when I'm reading Tad Williams books. So some of the things I didn't like, I would say there was one thing that I was maybe more annoyed with, but I do realize that this is going to be a part of character growth, and that was with Morgan, their grandson, who really, he is, I'll warn you, I don't think this is a spoiler, he is a spoiled prince. He is a spoiled prince, and you're going to have to deal with that. At the end of the book, I think you're going to see there's going to be some tremendous growth, I think, for Morgan throughout these next 2 books. And you're going to see that. There was some with Simon and Miriamel that I don't know if it's me as a parent, that I was like, guys, you just tell him how it is and he can either shape up or ship out. But I think that might have been a different perspective for me now that I'm a parent. One thing I did notice with this, and I don't know if some of this Tad had wanted to put in his original series, or if it was the age of Miriamel and Simon, there are a lot more adult and sex themes in this series than I felt were in the original series. So, for example, with Troja, with her being a breeding slave, there are some sex scenes, there's some nudity mentioned, and I don't know. I hope it's not that Tad feels he needs that in there to sell, and it didn't feel that way. There were a few scenes that that when I read them, I took them that way, but it was enough for me to get over it. I'm not a prude by any means. I do read romance novels, so I'm all for that. But where that really wasn't, in my memory, in that original series, it seemed like a departure from that. Again, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, so I didn't get bothered by it. But if that was something you appreciated from the original series, I think you're going to see some shift. There's going to be some more sex involved into discussion with these next books. Again, it follows the Norn Queen who has awoken and is sending Nezaru is called the Queen's Talon. She is Troja's daughter, and then of course she has a Norn father, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. And she's on a quest for the Queen is her storyline and the adventures there. So those are really the lines we follow. If you have read the first series, the evil wizard, his name was Pirates, and there is some mention with that. I'm going to tell you that, okay guys, let's take a look at maybe just 2 great wizards with this, one being Gandalf and then one being Dumbledore. And if we take our lessons from Dumbledore and Gandalf, they, in a way, Gandalf physically does come back, and then with Dumbledore, he does come back in his dream sequence there in Harry Potter. So my theory has always been with great wizards that to never trust a death. And so after reading this and a few things that have happened in this book, I am not trusting Pirates' death. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to be resurrected, which I'm not leaning towards that. I'm almost leaning towards maybe he is going to be possessing a body, perhaps, maybe, I might go with. But there's some mention and some flow through that I don't think we've seen the last of Pirates. The other thing that you're not going to have a solution for is we really don't know what the Witchwood crown is. This is something that the Norn Queen is looking for. This is what's made it back to Simon and Miriamel, that they're on a mission for this Witchwood crown. They're trying to get some help from their friends, the Scythi, and it's up in the air for me right now. Just with what that group is, it could be a real crown, it could be a sword, it could be a building, it could be a forest. I don't know, and we don't know at the end of the book. So that's where it is. I've always said it was Prince Joshua, even though, yes, I know there's not an H. I know, we've covered it. Jennifer's not good on names. He is missing, as are his children and his wife, and that's a part of the mission. That's one of the missions and part of the storylines on the mortal side that's going on, and their hunt for him. And you find that the League of the Scroll from the first series has been greatly depleted, and I think that's going to be a key part in the second and third books. Again, this was another wonderful book by Tad Williams. It's not, if you are a big, huge fan of the Misery, Sorrow, and Thorn books, you are not going to be let down with this. This has just been a wonderful continuation after, and it's really developing into its own set of stories. And what would probably be really nice is, I would almost say, if there were 9 books. That would be awesome. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I would almost like to see a prequel now to Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, versus 3 more after what would be this trilogy. Although I don't think Tad's gonna listen to little old me on that one. But anyway, it was a wonderful book. It's got that detail, and these are good books. I find Tad is a really good introduction to the fantasy world. A lot of what he does, these are not heavily magic involved universes. And what he has is he has a lot of parallels to Earth. I really feel like the Rimmersmen are, I picture them as Vikings. His big religion for the mortals, it's really heavily inspired by Catholicism. So there's a lot of what you're already going to know that's going to feel familiar, that will help you pull you into these stories if you are not a traditional fantasy reader. And they've got this detail that he's got this talent that it doesn't bog you down. He does a really good job of showing you while still moving and progressing his stories forward, which is just wonderful. And I just wish these would be made into movies or a TV series, because these are just wonderful, wonderful stories. Again, I don't know, I could probably just blabber on. They're great. They're great. They're great. They're great for the rest of this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the quick little review over the Witchwood Crayon. And in my world, I'll usually rate these books again as it's a yes, it's worthy of a hardcover purchase, a wait till it's in paperback, or it's a library checkout book, or a, you know, don't read for it. But these books are definitely by the hardcover. You're not going to be disappointed. Plus, they're thicker, so they'll hold and stand the test of time when you buy them in hardback as well. So simply for self-preservation of the book, you may want to buy it in hardback. But it is definitely needs to be on your to-read list for the summer, or there for later in the winter when you've met your reading goals on Goodreads and want to add a nice 690 some page book to your list. So bye guys, happy Sunday and happy reading until the next time. Bye.